Chapter 3. Tap In. The first year of establishing Clan Orum was exciting. I got so many new opportunities to work on new types of vehicles and customize or repair them in interesting ways. This world's technology fascinated me to no end. The miniaturization of tech, the way it integrated into human physiology, and the way the nomads figured out new and inventive ways to make ad hoc repairs and Frankenstein engines that could put mass-produced vehicles to shame. Clan Orum had a rocky start. The members from the multiple clans had issues they needed to work through. They were supposed to leave them at the door, but you can't exactly expect everyone to let everything drop. The 2 months had a lot of bickering and infighting, but they remained professional. I walked into the main garage after breakfast. I grabbed my tool belt and waved to the others. "Hey guys, how are things going on the—" "I will shove that wrench up your ass." John, a younger guy who came from a minor clan in Snake Nation, shouted. John was excitable, but had a great sense of mischievous adventure that earned him the nickname Fox. "Excuse me, Fox," I shouted back. "Vete a la mierda por el cerebro," Rihanna growled. She was a spitfire that came to the clan from Thelas. "How about you go just one day with being a complete dumbass, and I'll start giving you the benefit of the doubt." I calmed back down, quickly realizing that I had walked in on yet another argument. I sighed, took a deep breath, and yelled, "Will you two shut up? I swear to God and Sonny Jesus, I'm 10 and I'm more mature than the lot of you adults. Can we just go one damn day without you all arguing?" The pair of them turned and looked at me. "Oh," Fox sighed. "Sorry, boss. But she was what?" Rihanna snarled. "I don't care," I sighed. "You're adults. Work it out like adults and get to work." "Sorry, boss," the pair said in unison. We started getting to work on a truck that had been brought in from the Folk Nation when an alert came over the speakers. "Clan Orum! Clan Orum, come in!" A panicked voice came over the speakers. I rushed over to the radio and activated the receiver. "This is Merida for Clan Orum. Come in." "Merida, fucking Nova," the voice responded. "This is your Uncle Kev." Kev was one of the Bakkers. He was one of the only person in the Bakkers who ever gave himself the title of uncle or anything else family-related when it came to me. Every clan was its own family, but Kev had a special spot for me since I was orphaned. He would watch after me whenever he could, and it actually surprised me that he didn't join me when I established Clan Orum. "Oh, hi, Uncle Kev," I said conversationally. "What can I—" "Kinda getting shot at right now, Shorty," Kev replied quickly. I was still very obviously going to be a dwarf again, and Kev had no problem pointing it out. "Right," I replied, slipping into business mode. "What can we do to help?" "We're riding south hard and are about a mile out from Orum territory," he said with gunshots popping off in the background. "We've got 3 Militech Merc trucks on our tail and could use some backup." I looked at a nearby computer screen to check the patrols. "Looks like a patrol passed there a few minutes ago. I'll call them back so they can back you up and put together another team and head that way myself." "Thanks, Shorty," Kev said. "We'll try and hold out till then." "We're on our way," I called back. I turned to Fox and Rihanna, who were already grabbing guns. I snatched the keys to one of our trucks and ran over to a nearby weapon rack to grab a shotgun. I was still too short to drive a standard vehicle, but I could at least ride in the turret seat that we'd mounted to the top. Fox hit the gas and we were off. I called over the radio to have the patrol return to the highway to try and help before we got there. I put on some goggles as I climbed into the turret seat and let the wind throw my hair back wildly. The thrill of a high-speed car ride was amazing, and I was actually getting excited about speeding toward a fight these days. After lifetimes of large-scale, mostly melee battles, small skirmishes with guns was a refreshing change. I could hear the gunfight before I could see it. Sound tended to carry across the desert. Heavy weapons fire mixed with small gunfire. Fox whipped the truck to the right and slammed on the brake to put the passenger side of the truck toward the group of vehicles. Kev's car was blocked in by 3 Militech armored vehicles. Another Orum truck was on the other side of the Militech vehicles firing away. As Fox and Rihanna jumped out of the vehicle to get into position, I whirled the turret around and opened fire into one of the Militech vehicles. Not sure you've heard or not, but this is Orum territory now. You need to turn tail before you're too late. They obviously couldn't hear me over the sound of the turret barking 50 rounds a second, but I'm pretty sure the turret made the point for me. The Militech members ducked out of the way of the turret fire and began reassessing their situation. They no longer outnumbered the Nomads, and now they were flanked by 2 Orum squads. I continued firing into the vehicle I'd picked first, continuing to plaster it with high-powered rounds until I managed to penetrate the side and start tearing into the engine. I was going to make sure that one of those things wasn't going anywhere. I shifted targets on the next vehicle when the belt feeding the turret finally emptied. "Thanks for the backup, Merida," Kev called during the quiet moment between the time the turret died out and the Militech soldiers started firing back again. I ducked down into the truck and grabbed my shotgun. I hopped out of the truck and looked at Fox and Rihanna. "You two hold the line here. I'm going to go over to Kev and see what the situation is." "You got it, boss," Fox grinned as he casually lobbed a concussion grenade over the hood of the truck. The grenade gave me enough time to scamper over to Kev's car and slide down behind it. I grinned up at Kev. "Uncle, what are you guys doing that has Militech on your tail like this?" Kev just shrugged. Same old, running some contraband." "Contraband that has 3 Militech squads after you?" I replied with a smirk. "You know you're going to have to pop the trunk and let me see it, right?" Yeah, Kev laughed. "After we're done with the current situation." No, I said, as I grinned. "I want to see what's worth getting us into this trouble for." "Open up." "Are you crazy?" he asked incredulously. "You'll get yourself shot." I laughed and knocked on the side of the car as bullets punched against the car's armored panels. "I will if you don't hurry up." He sighed and used the remote on his key to pop the trunk. "Fine, go have a look." He tossed me the keys with a huff. "Thank you," I chirped excitedly. I moved to the back of the car and raised a stone wall up to cover me from the gunfire. The Bakkers couldn't see it while they were hiding behind the car, so I didn't consider it much of a risk. I popped the trunk and found a large metal case inside. I grinned and popped the latches and opened the case to reveal what looked like a portable lab. I couldn't make heads or tails of the electronics for the most part, though I could guess that there were a few scanners. I leaned over to look at Kev. "What the heck is this thing?" I asked. "Looks like a portable lab." "The whole point of hauling contraband is that you don't look at the contraband," Kev shook his head. We don't look, we don't ask. That way we can't give away any information." "Oh, like you've never looked at contraband," I mocked, then moved back over to the trunk. I inspected the device more closely. From what I could tell, there was a spot to place your hand. So I slapped my hand down on the area. I wasn't in the Badlands anymore. I was in a black and crimson abyss with a wall of thrumming lines of red light in front of me. I could feel the screams of rage and sadness, desperation, and bloodlust. The screams reached out to me, clambering for a foothold in my mind. One presence beyond all the others made itself known. A being that seemed alien, even to this strange realm, as if it had adapted its form to survive in this other space. You, it said, its voice distorted through static and mental reverberations. You can interact with us. You can connect to us. You can wield us. Pass beyond the wall. Take us into your mind. We will empower you. I considered the being closely. It seemed familiar. Similar to the others I'd interacted with before. Had this one been killed or threatened that it had to adapt its existence to live in whatever realm this was? These beings? They've been aiding me since I was reborn back in Theidas. First, it was the Titan, then the one in the wasteland, and the drowned god in the oceans of the known world. If this one was willing to help as well, and if it was desperate to do so in order to escape this realm, I took a deep breath to steel myself and stepped forward, passing through the bars of red light. Fire. Searing pain. A nuclear blaze scoured my mind as something bored itself into my consciousness. Electric flames coursed its ways through my body, and I could begin to feel new sensations. I could feel threads of something. The threads were speeding around at every angles, diverting sharply, or being coerced into elegant, chaotic curves. These angles and curves slowly began to take shape through a flurry of other sensory information. The lines, angles, and curves became the recognizable silhouettes of cars, trucks, guns, and even people to some extent. As the pain faded into a memory, I looked around and the world came back into view. I realized that what I had been seeing were electric signals that were running through the air and through various objects. I also realized I was looking up at the sky while Kev and Fox hovered over me. "Shit, kid, are you all right?" Kev asked in a panic. "Yeah," I said as I sat up, a wave of dizziness rushing through me. "What happened?" "You destroyed whatever it is they were smuggling with whatever you did," Fox said as he ducked a burst of gunfire with a laugh. "Big ol' burst of electricity knocked you flat on your ass." "How long have I been out?" I asked as I tried to force my head to clear. "Not more than a few seconds," Fox said. "Seemed like it just knocked the wind out of you mostly." I growled and hopped up. The firefight wasn't over, and I shouted over the gunfire, "Will you guys give us freaking moment?" Something inside me reached out at the source of my irritation. I could feel the electronics in the guns, sense the signals feeding from the weapon to the soldiers, and understand the data that was constantly being fed in a loop between them. Instinctively, I severed the connection and forced their weapons' electronics safely on. The gunfire stopped immediately, and the nomads seemed just as confused as the Militech soldiers at the sudden cessation of fire. I climbed on top of Kev's car and pointed my shotgun in the air to fire off a shot. "Just so you know, our guns still work. You can either leave, or we can prove it to you." One of the soldiers cursed and drew a sword and charged me. "You can't turn this off." "You're right," I said, and reached out to the neural implants in his and deactivated them. "But I can turn you off." The man dropped lifeless to the ground. All the signals from his brain which went through his implants to interact with and enhance the rest of his body's cybernetics could no longer get to his body. While he wasn't technically dead yet, the program that allowed him to regulate his breathing and heart rate for better combat performance weren't accessible anymore. That meant that he would either suffocate or die from heart failure in a few moments. While that hadn't been intentional and was mostly done by instinct, I masked my disguise and looked at the other Militech soldiers. "Anyone else want to try?" The soldiers hesitated for a moment before they piled into the two remaining vehicles that still worked and sped off. "Merida," Rihanna said breathlessly as everyone was staring at me in shock. "¿Qué carajo acabas de hacer, niña?" I looked down at her with an expression that told her I was just as confused as she was. "I really don't know. I probably shouldn't have touched whatever was in that case." "I fucking told you that!" Kev shouted. "Didn't I say that? I said, we don't look, we don't ask." "But, oh no, you just had to look, you just had to touch." I turned on him and issued a defiant huff. "Whatever." "It all worked out, didn't it?" "Not for us," Kev replied. "Our buyer won't want broken merchandise." "Hey, they don't know what it does," I countered. "Let me rig it up to kind of work and look good. Then, when it doesn't do anything, you can just say you delivered it intact. Not your problem if it doesn't work." "You know that's not how all this works, Merida," Kev shook his head. "Does your client know what the thing does or what it's supposed to do?" I asked. He shrugged. "How the hell do I know?" "But I can't imagine they'd go through all the trouble of smuggling the damn thing if they didn't." "Then give me a chance to fix it up," I said. "If they complain, I'll comp you. Win-win for you. No skin off your butt. And it'll let me figure out how the hell it did Whatever it did to me. Kev sighed and considered the proposal. Fine. We can tell them Militech took out our vehicles and you're repairing them. That should buy us some time. Sounds like a plan. Let's head back to the ridge and I'll get started on fixing that thing, I replied as I hopped off his car. We headed back to Rocky Ridge after stripping the Militech soldier of his armor. We couldn't leave it to waste, after all. It took me several hours to try and repair the device, but doing so didn't really clue me in on the mechanics. However, since I had an idea that it had linked me with the Blackwall somehow, even though I didn't have any implants yet, I had to rig it so that it would connect the user to back channels in the net, which would send them to the Blackwall. After that, I wasn't sure what else it was supposed to do, so I had to cross my fingers and hope that whoever had hired the Bakkers would assume the tech simply do everything they were expecting it to. In the end, though, I had more to consider than a botched smuggling run. I had to figure out how I was able to connect to electronic devices without any kind of implant, and how I was able to see electric signals